People that have died and been brought back. What did you see and feel? Serious. I had a saddle pulmonary embolism. The doctor afterwards told me it was the biggest clot he'd ever seen. I can't say for sure, but I know when it happened. In the moments leading up to it, I heard a voice say, "Sit down on the chair." As soon as I did, I was out. I can't describe it other than saying it felt like my body was lifting into the air. I felt simultaneously heavy and super light at the same time. I woke up covered in cold sweat. I spent a month in ICU after that. Nothing but calm relaxation. Woke up with a half beard, sore, and down 15 pounds. Mountain bike accident with massive head trauma. Almost 7 years ago. I didn't remember the next 2 months, fully recovered. I had a cardiac arrest and no pulse for 13 minutes. I was kept alive with CPR and eventually shocked back to life with a defibrillator. I woke up several times but kept slipping unconscious. There was nothing there, just black blank spaces in time that were very short. A lady did the CPR for 40 minutes and it went by in a second. But I did have a feeling of not wanting to die or leave my life. Not much, kinda just felt like I time traveled. I was run over by a truck and bled to death on the side of the road and had to be revived. One moment I was looking behind me and saw the truck right before it hit me. Thought, what the fuck? Then I just remember a massive force, and I was knocked out when my head hit the ground. Then I was in an ambulance with blood everywhere, and someone trying to talk to me after feeling a huge electric shock. Then I lost consciousness again after a moment. Then I was in a hospital, and had just woken up from emergency surgery to save my life. No bright light, no dreams, no visions. If I'd have died, I would have just ceased to exist. Nothing. At one point, I was riding my bike. The next, I felt intense pressure on my back and neck and then darkness. I woke up in the emergency room and doctors say that a vent ran over my chest and neck and my heart had stopped and I was dead for 3 minutes. Literally nothing happened while I was dead. I've been knocked out and had weird dreams while I was knocked out every time, but this was just nothing and then I'm back, as if I had a dreamless sleep. A few years ago my heart hit 180 BPM and would not go down. A trip to the NYC resulted in a dozen young learning doctors standing around as a couple of seasoned vets decided to give me a shot at adenosine. Technically I had in a flutter. This drug stops your heart for several seconds in a controlled environment and is intended to restart the heart with the correct beat. They stood by with paddles and gave the shot saying this may not feel comfortable. I was conscious as my heart stopped. I could hear people around me and feel tears fall down my face. The best way to explain the next few seconds was a wave of impending doom, but that is mild. It was a huge wave, a huge rush, a powerful enveloping feeling. I was quite awake although technically flatlining. I could only say that whatever was about to happen to me was not going to be good. No lights, no angels. Just like you veered off the center lane at 80 miles per hour and you're 5 feet from the front of a Mack truck. And then I woke up. In all it was about 10 seconds but an eternity. The drug didn't work. Spent the weekend in hospital and ended up having an ablation. All good. I woke up someplace that I didn't understand. It was just like this plane. No structures. It was just off to the horizon in every direction and I was like, okay, this is weird. And there was a noise, kind of like a hum in the background, like an irritating hum. I don't know, something. Then I saw somebody walking up from a long way away. I thought I recognized him, but I wasn't sure, and it took quite a while for him to start getting up to me, and as he was coming, the hum, the noise, the scratchy, irritating hum, was getting a little bit louder all the time, and I realized that this hum was something unpleasant. I didn't know what it was, and I knew that I didn't want to know what it was. Then, I recognized the person that was coming up was somebody I knew. He was my old boss at work that was always nice to me, and looked out for me, that died. As he walked by he said casually, "Oh, that's just Steven. He's okay," and the noise went quiet. I read somewhere that on your day of judgment, you will find the person next to you as the one who prayed most for you in life. I love this idea, because what if you die, and right in the swing of things, you see your third-year Spanish teacher, or that person you always said hello to outside of the convenience store. Not any of your family or friends. And so your experience made me think of that. Your old boss put in a good word for you in the afterlife. Hey, my experience was very similar. Something very far off in the distance and a distorted noise. The blurry image that I couldn't make out slowly get bigger and looked like a yellow oscillating wave. Something that you would see if you were listening to music on a computer and had the visualization plugin running. It was a long dark tunnel with a small yellow dot at the beginning that slowly transformed into this larger yellow wave. As this wave was growing larger, the distorted sound got louder, until finally the distorted sound became clear and I heard, "Okay, he's waking up." But the experience was one of absolute calmness. I remember being disappointed that I was being removed from such a calm state. I had a rather strange near-death experience because I felt things in place of my son. Note that I don't believe in life after death or spirits at all, but I am convinced that the brain is an absolutely fascinating organ capable of very powerful dreams. At the maternity ward, my son, who was only a few days old, was very ill. That night, I entrusted him to the midwives. I didn't feel strong enough to watch over him. I wanted to sleep a little. During the night, I felt an intense cold, so intense that I could only shake very hard, much more than a normal shiver from cold. I couldn't call for help or move. I was paralyzed. In fact, I thought, death is coming for my son. If I let it pass, it will take him. I fought as hard as I could to stop the sensation. I really felt like I had fallen into a frozen lake. Then it passed, and I fell back asleep. Sometime later, a pediatrician woke me up to tell me that my son was in critical condition and that they had been trying to save him since the middle of the night without understanding what was happening. His body was giving up. He was transferred to the hospital. The emergency doctor told me later that she thought she wouldn't be able to save him and that he held on beyond all expectations. I also saw him in critical condition, and I still wonder how he could endure that. Apart from the harrowing situation, the episode that night made me think a lot. Did I hear something to inspire that dream? My room was across from the pediatrician's room. Anyway, I've never found any other testimonies like this. Edit. For those wondering, my son is alive. He underwent an open heart surgery that saved his life. In our misfortune, we were lucky that the department where he was admitted had one of the world's leading specialists in his cardiac condition. The entire team was well versed in this specific pathology. They understood what was happening within minutes. Even though it was a very rare case, it was really a close call. I saw the light, followed it up into what I can only describe as a big hotel atrium lobby, all white. Every dead person I knew was there, and many I didn't know, but I recognized from old family photos. My grandfather said, "What are you doing here? It's not your time yet." Then I drifted away and woke up in bed with an almighty thump. The thing I'll never forget is the overwhelming feeling of love in that room and everyone there just being happy and contented. Could have just been a dream. I don't know, but it's never happened again, and I've never experienced anything like it. Not so much that I died, but I had a near-death experience. When I was 19 years old, I bought myself a motorcycle. I had been riding for about 6 months and felt pretty confident on it. This confidence is what almost killed me that day. It was a sunny day in September 2009 and I had just gotten out of my college class around 3 p.m. I put on my helmet, my gloves, and my backpack, and I thought to myself that I needed a haircut and started making my way towards the location. Keeping in mind that getting on the freeway was going to be the quickest way there. Once I got on the freeway, it was pretty congested, but I decided I could zoom by the cars and get there in no time. As I saw my exit approaching and seeing I could possibly pass by the car in front of me, I sped up and passed the car at a high rate of speed, making the exit, thinking I could maneuver easily around the curved corner that was about to come. I pressed on my brakes and my motorcycle went into a high-speed wobble. At this point, I got thrown off the bike and vaguely remember falling off. I must have hit my head pretty hard because I blacked out. When I came to, I was sliding on my back still at a high rate of speed on the freeway exit. This next part seemed like a movie, but everything around me seemed to be in slow motion. As I was sliding, I was passing cars left and right, and all I could hear is screeching from their tires. Once my body got more momentum, I rolled several times until I came to a complete stop. To my left there was just dirt and grass, and to my right was the cars on the freeway. As I laid on the asphalt, looking at my injuries, something in me made me look left. As I did, I saw this blonde lady, blue eyes, all white business attire, walking toward me in the dirt, grass area. Keep in mind, there wasn't a car anywhere near her. It was just barren land. As she comes up to me, she asks me, "Were you the one that called?" I start telling her that how could I have called? I was just involved in an accident. She then repeated again, "Were you the one that called?" Before I could answer her, I heard a door slam and a man yelling, "Are you alright?" As I turned to my right to tell him I was okay, I quickly looked back to my left and that lady was gone. I only lasted 3 hours in the hospital, with no broken bones, just road rash. I believe that if I would have told that lady that I did call, I would have died right there on that freeway. My dad was dead for a few minutes from a heart attack. He saw the bright light and explained that he was moving forward. He saw silhouettes of people lined up on the sides. He could see that people were moving their bodies to try and get a better look at who was coming. When he was about to see the first face, that's when they used the defibrillator on him and brought him back. He said it was the most peaceful feeling he ever experienced and is not afraid to die. And for anyone who is going to say that it was the paramedics that he was seeing: 1. His eyes were shut the entire time. 2. He saw rows of people and not the 2 paramedics that arrived. I saw everyone I ever lost in a big, really big yellow school bus. Serious. I also was having my hair brushed by my mother. I was in an induced coma. When I woke up, I had a purple beret in my hair. The nurse was having a fit. "That's not supposed to be in your hair." I said, "Yes it is. My mother put it there. I was in isolation. Thanks, Mommy." Paramedic here. I've seen plenty of people come back from the dead through emergency intervention and CPR. I've seen the most deeply religious people praying to God, Allah, etc. as they die. After a few moments, when they come back round, we ask them what happened. What did you see? The answer is always a look of confusion, and the answer: nothing. No dreams, no bright lights, no golden gates, nothing. I saw a deeply religious man cry because he felt in that moment God did not exist. I died in my shower when I was in my early 20s while my ex-boyfriend was in there with me. He reported I collapsed, was not breathing, and I was blue, gray. He reported it was quite a while that I was gone. To myself and the paramedics, no pulse. What I remember is floating down a black tunnel with a large square light and the very far end of it. As I floated closer, I could see silhouettes of people on both sides of me. No facial features like eyes or faces, no voices. Just dark silhouettes staring at me while I floated past. The closer I get to this light, I see it's a square window and it's a gorgeous sunny day on the opposite side of it. Tall grass blowing around from the breeze, clear bluish skies with clouds. It was beautiful, but the closer I got, I could see my dog that passed away, running down the hill, stopping to look, and seeing me. He trotted closer to the window as I was now at the end of this tunnel. It felt like all I had to do was climb over and into this gorgeous scenery, and I intended to do so. But he came up to me, tilted his head at me, and all I heard was "not now." And that's when I was flying backwards through the tunnel, flying past the dark silhouettes, faster and faster, until I flew back into my body, leaned forward, and heavily vomited the contents of my stomach in the bathtub while my ex was blinking in bewilderment. He had called 911, and I so weak while he tried to get me out of the tub to put clothes on. The entire time, apparently, I was muttering my dog's name, asking where he was. My ex said, "He's been gone for a long time. To this day I know my dog, who was always considered my soul dog by family and friends, is the reason I didn't cross the barrier. It wasn't my time, but I still think about that gorgeous meadow from time to time. How peaceful and serene it seemed. The feeling it invoked, death, seemed peaceful. I'm agnostic with my fair share of paranormal experiences, but this one still makes me think of all the possibilities of what's on the other side. I had an anaphylactic shock death. It was so unbelievably peaceful, and I felt love. I was in a tunnel and making my way towards the light when I heard my deceased brother say, "No, go back. It isn't your time." I woke up in an ambulance after EpiPen and adrenaline had been administered. I recall being carried on the wind very high above the ground. The air was warm and smelled of spices. It was night, all bar a warm light in the sky that I was on the breeze being drawn towards. The buildings below had flat roofs and I could see candlelight from the windows. I did not feel alone but could not see anyone else. Apart from the sound of the wind in my ears, there was a constant sound of grinding stone, like you hear from millstones grinding grain. It was calm, gentle, and unforgettable. I can share my experience. I was giving birth, and it was going wrong. I was bleeding out, and my baby was showing severe signs of fetal distress. I thought I was on a boat. It was on a quiet lake, and I was drifting further and further out into the silvery white. I could hear voices off in the distance, but only just. It was very, very peaceful, and I was just drifting away. Until I heard my sister's voice saying, "We're doing a cesarean," and I didn't care, had no sense of it at all. Apparently the room was crowded full of people rushing about, but I honestly thought it was just me and my sister there. There was a happy outcome, my beautiful girl and I survived. But I have often thought since that I really hope that all the women who died in childbirth back in the day, and there were so many, had an experience like mine. They just kept drifting off into the silver, calm and content. I don't really know where I was. It was like a white void. I'm not explaining it well. It was pretty inexplicable. It's all very fragmented, and it's like when you woke up for a dream where in the dream you're doing fantasy stuff like flying or walking through walls, but in the dream it's all stuff you totally accept. Well, I had that feeling about life while I was there. For me, it was weird. I'm not religious. I didn't have tunnels or bright lights, but I had my life play out in front of my eyes in what I can describe as a split second. It was the reviewed without judgment, and I was shown when I had made the wrong choices and how it affected the life of someone. After that, it is only what I can describe as complete love and peace. For the first time in my life, I felt whole, and it felt like I was back where I belonged. It's hard to put that feeling across correctly. The only situation which has evoked something similar is when you fall in love with someone for the first time, and during the first few months, you feel this joy and glow from the inside. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please like it. Subscribe to the channel and share your similar stories in the comments. See you soon.